executive interview series. I'm Ginger Conlon, a contributing editor to Martech Advisor. And joining us today is Ashley Stirrup, who is CMO of Talend. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So glad you're here with us today. We are going to talk about trends and opportunities with data management, which is such an important topic to marketers today. But before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about Talend. Tell us briefly, what is Talend and what makes it unique?
Yeah, so Talend is in the data space, actually. So what we do is we help our customers access data anywhere, whether it's on the internet, through sensors, traditional data sources, pull it together and turn it into insight. And in particular, what we do is we help people leverage cutting-edge technology like Hadoop and the new cloud platforms to do that faster and in innovative ways.
Excellent. Very cool. So let's talk data.
Yeah.
Has machine learning become the latest marketing shiny object? What is the reality?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because I think if any group is going to be a little skeptical of the buzz, it's going to be marketers. So I think everybody recognizes that there's a ton of potential with machine learning, and yet you've got to do it in the right ways. So, for example, here at Talend, we've had a lot of luck with predictive lead scoring and using that to drive better conversion rates out of our leads. And so there's a number of great examples of that. And in fact, Talend's customers are looking at all sorts of different ways of using machine learning. But I'd say we're still really early in the life cycle where people are testing. They've either had a win or they've had a failure, but they're still very early in their journey. Taking a step-by-step approach.
Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. So you think about how much data there is today. Marketers, I'm sure they feel sometimes that they're overrun with data. So what do you recommend to ensure that they do that they're collecting not just every single piece because they can, but the things that matter most?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important for people to have a vision for where they're going. I mean, just getting access to the data is really the first step. 80% of the work is how do you take that data and turn it into insight. And in fact, what we see internally is that it's just a constant evolution. So you get a new set of data on customers, and then you realize, boy, if we redesign our campaign or we ask different questions of the customer, then we're going to collect even better data. And so you want to just constantly be testing and recognizing what next set of data you need to continue to really get to know your customers better. Yeah, and I think the other piece of it, and we see this a lot with our customers, is having that end-to-end goal. Our best customers really start with what's the business problem I'm trying to solve, and what's actually the least amount of data I need in order to get to that answer. And the more focused people are, the more likely they are to get to the right outcome.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what's your advice for ensuring that data governance kind of stays intact as marketers' use of data explodes?
Yeah, so I'd say one of the biggest opportunities you have there is to have a strong partnership between IT and the business, so that as you're expanding your use of data, that you're making sure you're putting in place the right processes to really track where did this data come from, who's touched it, which is the most up-to-date version, and managing that over time. And if you do it the right way, IT can really empower a much broader set of people inside of marketing to be able to access that data, refine it, and share it. But it really has to be a collaboration, or you kind of end up in spreadsheet hell version 2.0, where instead of it being on your laptop, it's in the cloud and at a dramatically bigger scale.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. So how can marketers either orchestrate or integrate all of this disparate data to keep their data sources better in sync?
Yeah. Well, it really depends on the problem you're trying to solve. So, the first thing I always recommend with customers is they try to take a, buyer's journey kind of life cycle type of approach and really understand what that journey is, and then make sure you're tracking information step by step across the process. It's so easy to have, kind of lose data in a handshake, whether that's, data from the web to Marketo or Marketo to Salesforce. I mean, those are just a few examples. You've really got to make sure your wiring is nailed across those. And then if a lot of the banks we see are trying to do white space analysis, share of wallet. And so they've grown over time, multiple divisions selling different products. And that's where you really need to take a kind of a master data management type of approach. How do I link all this information together so I get that full picture of what a customer owns and where my opportunities for cross-sell and upsell are?
Right. Well, that's really interesting to think about that it's the use case that drives how you're connecting your data and not just, I want a holistic view, just, link it all up.
Yeah, and I think that's a real danger when people say we're doing a 360 view of the customer project. You really need to be very clear on exactly what are you trying to, achieve. In so many cases, I've seen customers just try to pull all that information together and then assume a salesperson is going to be more effective or a marketer is going to be more effective. But it can really turn into information overload if you haven't designed the information to deliver a specific outcome, like what's the next best offer I should make to this customer.
Right. Well, it makes sense. Yeah. So we're talking about customers. Where should marketers focus their use of data to make the biggest impact on customer experience?
Yeah, it really varies dramatically. A few great examples from our customers. One of the ones that I love is Lenovo, where they use their data to understand what customers were buying and where they were seeing returns. And they were actually able to identify certain configurations that customers were probably forgetting, oh, I didn't order the webcam or whatever the component might be. And they were able to flag those and call the customer before they ever shipped it out and say, you sure you ordered the right configuration? And that's a great way to improve both the customer experience and cut down costs, because then you don't have the whole shipping and returns and all that. Yeah, another one that Lenovo has really done a nice job with is there's so many points along the journey where you're going to gather information on a customer. There's a form you can fill in or a survey after a purchase or something like that. And so often companies aren't really making use of that. It's unstructured text data, and so they're not able to flag. I mean, one of the worst experiences a customer can have is if they tell you they're unhappy in a form and then nobody ever responds to them. So being able to flag those, have a systematic process for following up with those individual customers, and a systematic process for eliminating those customer pain points, dramatic improvements in customer experience.
Right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Um, so speaking of, improving the experience, let's talk about improving marketing performance. What's one area that marketers might overlook um, in terms of using data to improve marketing performance that potentially could have a significant positive impact?
Yeah, well, one area I think is that so often people think that a small team is going to be able to do the analysis, identify the perfect result, and then everybody in marketing is going to go be able to execute on it better, like shift in your mix or something like that. And really, one of the most important things is understanding that you need to empower a lot of people inside of your marketing team with that insight, because they're not just going to get a report and the answer's going to be on the page. They're going to have to test and iterate and refine and maybe do an A/B test, something like that. And so investing in making sure that a large portion of your marketing organization is data fluent, is comfortable with analytics, and understands how to go through that whole iteration, test, refine process is really important, because you can't, in today's world, you can't just rely on a few analysts to drive the whole marketing organization.
So let's wrap with a look forward. What is coming up that you're excited about in two areas? First, anything in the market in general, a trend or a tool that you're seeing that you're following? And also within Talend, any new features or upgrades we should be watching for?
Yeah, well, it actually ties in nicely to the point I made a minute ago about enabling many more people to have access to data. We're investing a tremendous amount in data at self-service. So whether that's capturing data, because a lot of marketers are involved in that, whether it's somebody who went to a trade show or somebody buying a list, how do you make it easy for them to incorporate that data into your customer database, data warehouse, and do it in a clean, efficient way? And then how do you give people the tools to get the right data out, come up with the right lists, those types of things? And so we're investing in a number of different tools around self-service data access, web-based tools that make it easy to clean and transform data. We have something called Talend Data Preparation. And then new technologies for just lightweight ways to go access new types of data anywhere on the internet. to incorporate that and to enrich your customer database.
Excellent. Ashley, thanks so much. Thanks for all the great insight today. I appreciate you spending time with us.
My pleasure.
And I want to thank everyone who joined us on the video, and also visit Martech Advisor's YouTube channel for other executive interviews. And thanks again for joining us.